Hey guys, what's going on? So the discussion we're gonna have today is about ultra units. Now the community has been kind of going on in circles with a post-apocalyptic outlook on what Legends is going to be with ultra units if they don't do it right. And while those videos are in no way wrong, they are definitely a discussion to talk about. And what I'm kind of want to do in this video here today is to kind of talk about ultra units in a more positive light, while also talking about what could inevitably happen. I kind of want to be constructive with what the community is kind of talking about. I want to talk about what the game and the developers should do and what the best course of action would possibly be for when summonable ultra units become a thing. And just kind of, be a bit more optimistic about the fact that ultras are now in the game. We're going to have to deal with them, guys. Like, they're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. So, yeah, let's just jump into the conversation. Let's kind of talk about all the units as a whole. And then we'll kind of jump into what the game developers should do when they release. So, first things first, we got two ultra characters in the game currently. Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta. Both of these units are very good. They work really well in tandem with each other, mainly because while Goku is a more all-around, unit because of his Saiyan ability for his Ultra ability, the Vegeta is kind of limited in what he's able to do just because he can only get buffs from people within the Frieza Saga tag. So they work really well together. This Vegeta is very hit and miss depending on the type of team you're trying to build. So it's not the worst thing that they could have done. Obviously, there's a big discussion about reused animations and stuff like that. And I think that's a good point. It's a really solid point that that this Vegeta uses some of the same animations that the Goku does. And can it come off as lazy? Yeah, I can see that being the case, because in reality, when a unit is reusing the same animations as the ultra unit that came prior to it, and the developers are coming out and saying that each of these units take about 3 to 4 months to make per ultra unit, it's kind of debatable if that's actually true or not, because if you're just going to reuse half of the animations for these characters, then what's the time that's going into the rest of these animations? I mean, obviously the opening cutscenes with each of these units takes a lot of time and effort. And some of these special moves and ultimates and stuff that these characters do have, they are good. They're really like flashy and whatnot compared to like some Legends limited units and stuff. But it's a matter of where is that time being put into. And I kind of wish they would kind of discuss some of that stuff. But I think we can overlook it for the sheer fact that this Vegeta came out maybe 2 months after the fact. So that they rushed this guy out because they wanted to make this anniversary special. And I think because it's a free-to-play character, I think it's okay. I think it's okay for a free-to-play character to have some reused animations and kind of go with the flow in that regard. I don't necessarily mind it that much. But when it comes to the unit, when it comes down to ultras actually being summonable, that's when I might have more of an issue with it, because if I'm paying money and I'm paying my hard-earned chrono crystals that I grinded up or I put money into and whatnot into a summonable ultra character, I expect it to be the flashiest unit available, and I don't want reused assets being used for said characters. Now, obviously, it's a bit too early to kind of tell. I could probably theorize that maybe within the next year or so, it'll all be free to play ultras until the first one within about a year. I would think in a year it would be somewhat feasible, because if I remember correctly, Dokkan did the same thing with their LRs. Their LRs, you can correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below, but wasn't the first LRs in Dokkan, weren't they like free ones? The Prime Battle ones, right? Yeah, I think the Prime Battle ones were free initially before they started doing summonable ones. So it really just depends on how they go about doing it. I don't want reused animations. I don't want like copy paste kits being put in with these characters and stuff. Like, I want uniqueness from my ultra characters. Like I said, these guys are really good. I don't think they're super overly busted. It just depends on how they're going to build them going forward. And that's the other thing too, right? You know, when they become summonable, are they going to be like beyond imaginable, like broken? Are they going to be the most broken units in the game? Because while you just got to think about power creep, right? You don't necessarily want them to be broken because obviously we still have issues with some of the Zenkais that are in the game. But at the same time too, you know, who knows? So, but anyway, let's kind of go into what I think the developers need to do. Everybody in the community, a lot of the other big time guys within the Dragon Ball Legends community, they're all talking extremely negatively on the aspect of ultras, and they're not wrong to think that way. I think Dragon Ball Legends could end if ultras are not handled in the right way, right? Because if they're not handled in the right way, if the summonable ultras, if they get a little too greedy with the summonable ultras, that's when it's going to be the death of this game. And I can see that. They're not wrong to think that, and I don't want anybody thinking that I'm saying otherwise. However, let's try and be a little constructive about what they could possibly do to make summonable ultras a viable option. Now, the first thing I kind of want to talk about is Zenkai Awakening. Part of the problem with summonable ultras is the fact that they are monetizing 4 separate, technically I guess 5 separate types of units. You have your brand new EXs that come out every banner. And I'm not so worried about EXs because EXs are very hard to pull. They are very hard to pull. And they're probably harder to pull than most Legends Limited units. But they do come around a lot more often. They come back on banners sooner than some sparking units. So it's absolutely understandable with that. Then you got regular sparking units. Then you got Legends Limited units. Then you have Zenkai Awakening. Then you have Ultra units. That's 5 different types of units that they're monetizing. Now that's a lot of monetization for a game that should be a bit more free-to-play friendly. Now they've made some progress in terms of Zenkai Awakening. They've done a bit better than what they had initially when they released it. It used to be you would almost have to put down 20,000 Chrono Crystals just to fully Zenkai Awaken a character. Now it costs you about 7,000, and the average summoner in Dragon Ball Legends, whether it be free to play, whale, or whatever, is going to roughly spend 7,000 Chrono Crystals a month on either a banner or a Zenkai Awakening. So, and I mean, obviously it's fine whichever you go for, but the point here being is that you can't have 5 monetary options in this game for it to be a healthy, you know, economic environment within the game, right? You just can't. It's impossible. My suggestion would be with Zenkai Awakenings, if you're going to monetize ultras, you have to make Zenkai Awakenings free. You cannot monetize Zenkai Awakenings and have ultras being put in the game as well, with everything else that's incorporated in the game. I think that a lot of people say that Zenkai should be free, and I think with the introduction of ultras, that should 100% be an option. There's no reason why they can't. I know people make the comparison with Dokkan with the way that they do that their awakenings and stuff like that for units. And it's not quite a 1-to-1 comparison with that. So, but in a way, Zenkais should become that way if you're going to monetize ultras. That's just how it should be, because nobody is going to spend 7,000 to fully Zenkai summon a Zenkai character, nor are they going to drop a ton of crystals on not only new sparkings, but also new Legends Limited, but also summonable ultra units. So it's just not feasible. So that's one way that ultras in summons could actually be better, would be if they got rid of paying for Zenkai Awakening. Oh, that's nice. Thanks. Sorry about that weird cut, guys. OBS is being weird for whatever reason, and it keeps crashing on me. So let's try to make this fast. So let's actually take a look at a banner. So this is the most recent step up banner that kind of came out. And if you take a look at the drop rates itself and the banner itself. So here's the other fundamental flaw with them releasing Summonable ULTRAs is the sheer fact that we're starting to get banners like this, right? Where there are 7 LFs on one banner. 7 Legends Limited units on one banner. You got these. You got 2 new Bojack units here, right? Then you have 4 of these EXs. The average banner is going to probably have 2 to 3 new Sparkings and maybe 1 to 2 new EXs with 1 new Legends Limited unit. What they need to do if they want to monetize Ultras and they want to start adding these into banners, there's 2 different ways that they can go about doing this. One, if they're going to keep Legends Limited around with the Ultras, and this is if they actually release Legends Limited units with the Ultras, then what they need to do is they need to limit it to only the Ultra, the new unit, the new Legends Limited unit, and maybe 1 other LF unit, and then whatever Sparkings and EXs are on the banner. Not only that, but they also need to change the way the rates work. Currently, Legends Limited units are at a 2.5 normal drop rate, with the brand new Legends Limited units being 0.5. If Ultras are going to be summonable, what the devs need to do, they need to consider upping the rates for everything. Basically, the Ultra unit would be taking the spot of the 0.5% rate. The new Legends Limited unit would need to either be at a 0.75 or a 1%. And the brand new Sparking units would need to be at around 2%. Now, 2% is actually feasible because if you play games like Pokemon Masters has, with their 5-star rating units, with the way that they do their like featured units, their featured units are, I believe, at a 1.5 or a 2% drop rate. So for a brand new Sparking to be at 2%, I think is relatively reasonable. They're not, Pokemon Masters, I believe, is not the only gacha out there that utilizes 2% drop rates. So if you want to add an extra rarity into the summon units, and you want people to keep summoning for both Legends Limited, Sparkings, and Ultras, you need to up the drop rates. Sparking should be at around 2, and I think that's reasonable. I don't see a reason why that can't be the case. They're already hard enough to pull as it is. Like, you can scroll down here. The problem with this banner too, this isn't the best example because they have all these featured Sparkings, right? All these featured Sparkings are on here, and they're at a 1.2% rate. That's the other thing that they got to do too. If you're going to incorporate Ultras, like you got to lower the unit pool, because like it's maybe not considerably enough to the point where it's just the new units or whatever, but it's going to be impossible with 0.12% drop rates for all of these extra units that people already have, right? And then you incorporate Ultra units, and it's going to be lower than a 2.25% rating. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. So, yeah. So the new Sparkings need to be 2%. I think Legends Limited should go up to about a 1% drop. They're already hard enough to pull as it is. What's upping it by another 0.5%? And then if they incorporate old LFs, then put the old LFs at 0.5, and then the Ultra can be 0.25. At the very least, in that regard, I feel like it's manageable, because it doesn't change anything about that particular like banner, for example, right? Because regardless of whether there's an Ultra or in the game or not, if it's a Legends Limited or an Ultra unit, like those rates don't change. It's going to be just as hard to pull the Ultra unit at 0.25% as it is to pull any of these at 2.5%. I've maybe put in close to 20,000 crystals, maybe a bit more than that, into this banner, and I pulled this Gohan once. It was the first time I ever pulled this Gohan right here. So I don't know. I think Ultras being at 2.5% is reasonable. I would like it to be 0.5 personally, but I wouldn't be upset if they made them 0.25. You can't, but they can't make it less than 0.25% for an Ultra unit. They just can't. That's downright criminal in the way that they are doing that. And the way the ecosystem is currently, like, there's just, you just can't do it. And then we have to take a couple other things into account before we end the video here. But you got to take into account the fact that currently the Ultra units require special Z-Power. Not Z-Power, but souls. They require special souls to upgrade their soul board. And are you going to require us to... Are you going to require us to have to grind out those medals, those souls still? Are there going to be events if you do that? Are there going to be events that will allow us to easily acquire that? Are they just going to drop the standard colored souls and that's just what we use to soul boost them? Like, it's still a bit too early, I think, for us to really judge summonable ultras when we may still have like another year still before we get our first summonable ultra. But the devs do need to be very careful with how they go about handling these characters. They really need to stop and think, what is the best means of being able to put these on banners and make them summonable? I think the ideas that I put out there are not too far-fetched. I think it's reasonable to expect that Zenkai Awakenings become free at that point. I think it's reasonable to up the drop rates. I think some other people were saying that the game needs to put a pity system in too, and I think that's fair. Especially if you're not going to do an increase in the drop rate, then at the very least you should at least put a pity system in, so that way you can pull the ultras. And like, not even for that, like even just getting a new unit in general, even if it's Legends Limited or one of the new Sparkings. Like, there's some people out there that summon on these banners and they get the Legends Limited, but they don't get one of the new Sparkings. And it's like, but the new Sparkings have a 1% drop rate. And yet I was able to pull like 2 copies of the new Legends Limited and like 4 other, featured Legends Limited characters on the banner. It's just, it's nuts. But yeah, a pity system would be a good idea. I think that there's a bunch of other gachas out there that have it, and Legends Limited just doesn't. Dokkan, I feel like, needs a pity system too. I mean, they got one with the coins, I guess, but even then, like, I don't know. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I think there's a specific way that the devs can do this without it coming off as greedy in any way. I think there is a manageable way of handling it. It's just a matter of how. And I think some of the ideas that I kind of put out there today, hopefully someone sees it. I don't think anyone's going to see it, but let me know down in the comments, though, what you guys think. What do you guys expect from summonable summonable ultras? What would you guys expect from the devs to do to make it a fair balance? I think making them free for the meantime is fine. I just don't want them to be completely free personally, just because the kits so far have been relatively lackluster, and I'd like a bit more uniqueness out of these units. So if making them summonable and monetizing it makes it easier to do that, then by all means, that's fine. But just handle it right. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching and letting me know. The Legends content is going to be on the back burner for a little bit. You'll still get summon videos. You'll get the occasional Team Comp Challenge video. And you might see occasional videos like this going up. But we're going to be starting to do more playthroughs and stuff on the channel to kind of... It's just easier for me to do. I can't always invest a lot of time into Legends at this point. So just expect more playthroughs. Expect less Dragon Ball Legends. But... let me know what you guys want to see in terms of content on the channel. We'll have a new playthrough going up, but I would like to get your guys' feedback on what we do with that. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about summonable Ultra units and what you guys would like to see the devs do to make it fair and balanced. So with that said, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.